For the grounding, I really wanted to think more about this quote that the service is centered on. And so Martin Luther King Jr. wrote that agape love is an overflowing love, which is purely spontaneous, unmotivated, groundless, and creative, a love in which the individual seeks not his own good, but the good of his neighbor. So I don't know about you, but when I first read these words, spontaneous, unmotivated, and groundless, I really had to sit with them for a while, because in a world that asks us to justify everything and have all these reasons for our kindness and to measure who deserves what, King is asking us to do something radical. He's asking us to love in the way that God loves. And so I wanted to think about, these different facets that Dr. King spoke to. First, he says that this love must be spontaneous. Love can't be scheduled. It can't wait for the right committee meeting or the perfect 5-year plan. Love responds to need as it arises. And we know that there's been so much need. Thinking back to those early pandemic days, everything felt uncertain. The systems that we relied on seemed to crumble overnight. But something beautiful really did happen in that chaos. Communities across the country showed us what spontaneous love really does look like. And we spoke with folks who did that work and compiled, a lot of the findings in a matter of survival report that we did at Kairos. So I wanted to uplift an example from that at Bethel Neighborhood Center in Kansas City. When there wasn't enough masks to go around during that moment, volunteers, they didn't wait for permission. They just started sewing. Over 1,000 cloth masks that they made with their own hands, distributed to their neighbors that needed them. We got to talk to Mang Sona, who runs the center, who told us that the demand was immense and community members consistently requesting more masks. And they didn't have a budget line for this. They didn't plan for this. They just saw the need and they responded. And this is what King is talking about, this love that doesn't wait for the perfect plan, love that sees need and moves. Dr. King also says that this love is unmotivated. Again, from the folks that we spoke to for the Matter of Survival report, we learned that the most powerful community work happens when we meet direct needs consistently with no strings attached. Whether it was providing pandemic information or food assistance or clothing or water or harm reduction or Narcan or anything, like all kinds of stuff, all kinds of efforts that so many organizations did and engaged in during the pandemic that met all of these needs or more without payment, without eligibility requirements or all this paperwork. Also wanted to uplift the Philadelphia Union of the Homeless, who understood this very deeply. Every Friday, every single Friday still, they showed up at the same spot outside the intake center to greet unhoused folks, hold their belongings, and give them food and snacks at the same place at the same time with this same type of love that they're giving folks without strings. And folks know that they could count on that, consistently. And then he says that this love is groundless for no reason, which for me is a really difficult concept. What does it mean to love someone, not because they deserve it, but because we're all deserving of the love of God and to be wrapped in love of the community. And for me, this really, makes plain the need for an abolitionist politic that's rooted in love for the community. I also do organizing work with a collective called Study and Struggle. And this principle is really at the heart of everything that we do. We push against what we call carceral logics, which is the voices that tell us that some people should be thrown away, that some lives don't matter, that justice means punishment rather than healing. And these logics we know have dealt particularly violent hands to Black folks and women and queer and disabled folks. Anybody that society has decided doesn't count and should be thrown away. And today, we also know that so many movements, from the movement for Black Lives to folks that are protesting dehumanizing actions of ICE, are refusing to fit our frames of justice and who is or isn't deserving of agape love. We are saying that every person, regardless of who they are or what they've done, deserves to be wrapped in the love of the community. And this, to me, is abolitionist love, a love that doesn't ask if somebody deserves it first. And then Dr. King says that this love is creative. And one thing, that I also like about or appreciate about movements for justice is that there is so much room for creativity and new ideas, and that we don't have to be afraid of anything because we're coming up with everything. And so something that, we also center with a creative kind of like movement politic is that we should listen to those that are most impacted and that they should guide us towards the creative and new steps that we should take moving forward. And so in that vein, I wanted to share a few words from somebody that's been guiding my understanding of justice. Her name is Tanika Williams, and she is incarcerated at Central Mississippi Correctional Facility for several years for a crime that she did not commit. And she wrote this letter on justice for women a few years ago. And she writes, "My name is Tanika Williams. I'm currently incarcerated at Central Mississippi Correctional Facility going on 11 years for a crime that I did not commit. I feel the justice system is unfair to women because a man could have the same charges as the woman and the man get a lesser sentence and women get the max time. Most of the district attorneys and judges are men and biased towards women. Some of them have been in office for so long that they are not open-minded. Most of them believe that you are guilty. There was a mass release of 3,500 inmates, and most of them were men. It makes me wonder how many were women in 2022. If prison reform continues to be pursued by intelligent individuals who desire to see a change take place, then I truly believe there will be a positive shift in the prison system soon." Another thing that officials and authorities should focus on more is reentry. Leaving prison is far from easy. For a woman who has been incarcerated for any period of time, especially those like myself who spends decades in bars, entering back into society requires a lot and is far from easy. Finding employment, transportation, housing, and learning to manage a person's responsibilities that can be overwhelming. If the right support is not provided, then it is all too easy to end up right back in prison again, leaving behind once again children and other family members that truly need help with everyday life. Not only do we struggle on the inside, our families struggle on the outside as well. Justice for women is something that I hope will rise in the judicial system and inside prison very soon. Something needs to change so that we won't continue to see so many women suffer such great injustice. Yes, if you do the crime, you do the time. That is true. But each offender is a human being that deserves to be sentenced fairly, do time in safety, and have outstanding outside support when returning to society. They got me. I love how Tanika ends it with these words about, people's humanity and everybody deserving fairness and support. And yeah, that's how we become this community that we know we need to make the change that we need. So thank y'all.